Yeah.
All right. Well, my name's Ian MacRae, and I am owner of Ian Computers, and we're a managed service provider, and that's fancy talk for we're the IT department, or we work alongside the IT department for about 50 area businesses and organizations. And working in the IT department for a company, it's kind of like we're their general contractor for IT. We know a lot about many different systems, but we also need to be able to reach out to specialized contractors. And that's how we met Joey and his team at UpCurve Cloud. Joey's team has been specializing in G Suite for a long time. Joey, when did you start working focused on G Suite?
Well, funny story is the company I'm working for now, one of their claims to fame is that they resold the very first Google business license. And back then, this is 2008, it was just Gmail and an admin panel. And this was the very first resold Google license. So I've been in the ecosystem going on 10 years, but the company has been in the ecosystem for about 12 years.
Okay, so I'm thinking Obama and Hope, and I think that's 2008.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny you say that because it was right around the time post, or not post, but right during the whole housing crash. People were getting laid off. But what ended up happening was a lot of people started coming up with their own businesses, right? And when you need to start a business, you don't have to go through the motion of getting all that hardware, right? You could just sign up for a G Suite account. Well, it wasn't G Suite back then. It was but you can use your business domain now and get a fully functioning suite of tools that you would have had to pay an enormous amount for. So that really transcended the get online, get my business online to the next level and make it real easy for companies. That's why you see a lot of startups, right? Just not even thinking twice about signing up for G Suite right away because it's easy to scale.
So in working with Joey, we really see the marketplace in three different areas of setup, you could say. Either they're with a cloud provider or they're not. In the cloud providers, there's really just two options. There's Microsoft and there's G Suite, sort of the two main options. And of course, the knots. It tends to be all sorts of weird legacy stuff. Maybe it's some sort of a micro cloud, like GoDaddy or an old internal server. But all of those types of, if it's not G Suite, if it's not Microsoft Office 365, you're really in some sort of an older paradigm, which tends not to have the rapid advancement that we've seen with G Suite over the years. And what's really exciting with G Suite right now is that you guys have a new channel leader that I think came on in the past 6 months or year, and is really looking to push G Suite into the next level.
Absolutely. And I guess everyone would interpret that, what does the next level mean? I think in the G Suite world, the next level really means taking more of what you do on a day-to-day basis to Google's cloud ecosystem, right? G Suite covers, a major portion of what most businesses need from a day-to-day collaborative standpoint, but there's much more to that, right? It's one thing to just get your communication in the cloud, but taking it to the next level is utilizing ML and AI and utilizing analytics to make better business decisions, right? Really getting an understanding of how everything's working and tied in together, and the ability to not have things in silos anymore, but really have a cohesive working environment where you have access to everything you need anytime, anywhere, no matter where you are.
Sounds great. Well, Joey, we're really excited about the presentation today. So I'm going to, we're here with Ian Computers. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen and let the guys over at UpCurve walk us through the presentation.
Yeah, let me just get this going here. And you should be able to see my screen now, correct?
Yeah, that looks familiar.
All right. Yeah. You imagine if I did my presentation on PowerPoint, I would never hear the end of it. Let me just present this a little bit. So, really, I'm going to run through this pretty quickly because I don't want to, just feature dump on anybody. I really want to just talk about what is making G Suite so popular out there in the business world and why it makes sense for a lot of companies. Now, there's no one size fits all when it comes to moving your infrastructure or moving your collaboration to the cloud, right? You take a look, what works best for you, what works best for your people, what works best for your environment, but also, what works best for you in the future. What we're going through right now with this, COVID, coronavirus is obviously unprecedented, and nobody really understands what's going to happen next. But I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, and I'm reading it almost on a daily basis, that there is going to be a new thought process from business leaders in terms of how they set up their collaboration platform, how they set up their email, their phone systems, right? Everything that is required from a business to be productive is being rethought right now. And a lot of it is to enable a flexible business model, right? There's no way that everyone that's been working from home is going to go back to the office. It's just not going to happen, right? Businesses are going to loosen the requirements for folks to allow them to maybe work from home partially, maybe 2 times a week, 5 times a week, right? Everybody's going to be different, but the point is you have to be able to have an infrastructure and an environment that allows for that type of flexibility. And that's exactly what G Suite was built for 15 years ago, right? It was built in the cloud for the cloud. Obviously, Google saw this trend happening, and they have never built anything for local or on-prem. It's always been built based off connecting to a powerful infrastructure on the back end. And what we're finding out, and it's just become more evident because of COVID, is that legacy tools do hold you back from being more productive, right? We hear this a lot from companies that are just stuck in their mindset of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it mentality. But the question that a lot of those companies are starting to ask now is, what happens if we don't do anything? How long can we sort of sustain this growth if we don't make any changes when all of our competitors are making these dramatic changes, right? What are we losing out on by not accelerating our digital transformation? And that's a question that has been answered by a lot of companies recently. And you can clearly see that making that leap from a legacy or status quo environment to a more cloud-first, collaborative environment allows your employees to work better, work smarter, work faster. They don't waste time doing a bunch of repetitive, mundane tasks, right? It just improves the overall workflow. When change happens, yeah, sorry.
I like that picture with the CRT monitors and the floppy disks there. They
yeah, I mean,
like
that's where a lot of us started. Yeah. And look at that old, probably, Microsoft Word 98 spreadsheet or Excel 98.
The good old days.
Yeah. And when you make that change, positive things do happen. And it's scary, right? A lot of companies don't make the change because they're just scared of disrupting the employees or scared of, the locals or the employees, creating a coup, right? Oh, we don't want this. This is not going to work for us. Yet most of the time after a change like this is made, and I'm sure it's the same for 365, right? You hear, oh, I wish we would have done this sooner, right? And that happens all the time. And it's not just about working in the cloud, right? It's about improving how you're doing things now and also setting yourself up for future success. So G Suite essentially is if you're not familiar with what it is, right? It's a suite of business productivity tools. So you get everything from your basic email with your business domain to calendar, which is recommended to have a shared calendar system, right? Which prevents those calls and emails to 3 or 4 different people asking, hey, when are you available, right? When you have, again, a collaborative cloud environment, you're able to easily schedule because you know when certain individuals are busy and when they're not busy. You get all the collaborative components like Google Docs, Sheets, Slides, Forms, Keep, which is a note-taking app. And then you also have Google Drive, which is a cloud file storage repository. That's where you can create documents, share documents, save documents. And then for the admins and the managers and the folks that are on the security team, you have all the controls from a back end that allow you to easily set restrictions, secure your users, manage their identities, manage their access. If you're in healthcare or government or any regulated industry, Google meets all those standards. It's it's not an easy task to get 2 billion users on any application. But if you look at Google, they have multiple applications with hundreds of millions and billions of users, which means they have an infrastructure that can support that type of requirement and strain on it. So this is built for the masses, right? The good thing about Gmail in general is that it's so popular. Most individuals, under the age of 60, I would say, either have had a Gmail account or had one, or at least you know what it is. So to ask somebody, hey, we're going to change our business email to Gmail, most people are already at least familiar with it, so it's not a completely foreign ask of them, right? And that translates into an easier deployment and an easier adoption. Some of the top companies in the world obviously were some of the early adopters of G Suite and have never looked back, right? Whirlpool, PwC, Airbus, Nielsen, Roche. There's case studies on all these companies out there, but these were some of the early adopters that saw what Google was doing and said, hey, I like what I'm seeing here. We're running an old Lotus Notes backend. We need to change before it's too late. And these companies have seen tremendous growth because of that. So it really just reimagines how things are done. G Suite is not a one-to-one direct competition of 365, right? It's not, if you look at feature by feature, it's not going to be the same, and that's on purpose, right? If it was the same, there would be no reason to switch, right? The reason why companies switch is because they look at G Suite as helping us be able to be more flexible, be able to do things better, faster, and smarter. And when you hear those terms, right, what does that actually mean? And I can show you some examples here, right? When we say G Suite helps you make things faster or do things better or do things more seamless, it has AI built into it. If you haven't experienced Google's I'll finish your sentence AI that's built into Gmail, it's pretty incredible how it knows how you want to finish that sentence. And I would say 90% of the time it's pretty accurate, right? So you don't have to type in the whole sentence. You just push tab and it finishes for you, right? There's seamless integrations with third-party applications, which I'll talk to in a bit. But the point is that Google's continuously making improvements to build out how smart these tools are. And it all comes back to how do we help you work better and smarter, right? G Suite helps people get more work done because you can access it anywhere, anytime, on any device. When you hear that G Suite helps companies make things smarter, it's because you can easily find what you need anywhere, anytime, on any device. If you're at the airport and somebody says, hey, can you bring up that marketing doc that we just shared with that customer 2 weeks ago? it'll probably take you 10 seconds to find it, right? Where if you're working in an old legacy world, good luck finding it that same day, right? You're going to have to call someone and who's in the office, and good luck if they're in the office. If they're not in the office, you're going to have to figure out how to VPN into the office. It's just a whole, slew of roadblocks that prevent you from getting what you need, right? G Suite kicks down those roadblocks and gives you what you need wherever you need it. With some of the built-in tools that are out of the box with G Suite, it helps individuals require less of themselves to learn how to do things. And what I mean by that is, if you look at Excel, right? Excel is a behemoth of a platform, of an application. And there are, folks that are Excel experts. There's folks that are Excel, novice or intermediate, and they know how to do pivot tables. They know how to use, create Gantt charts. They know how to use the lookup functions. Most average folks don't know how to do all that, right? Now with AI built into G Suite, you don't have to know how to do that. It's built in. You just have to click a button and Google basically shows you, hey, if you want to run a report on this spreadsheet, here's how you do it. If you want to see a graph chart of your data, here's how you do it. And I'll show you an example of that here in a minute. But this is what we mean by, it's smarter than the average collaboration platform. And when you hear the term making it together, it's all about the collaboration, right? Being able to chat with your coworkers, being able to seamlessly schedule an event with your coworkers, being able to real-time collaborate on a document together. If you haven't experienced that within a working environment, I highly recommend you at least give it a shot, because it saves so much time, right? You don't have to worry about version 1, version 2, version 3. You know that everyone's working on the latest version of that document. All updates are saved in real time, and you can make notes and collaborate with each other. With the admin section, the ability to easily secure your users and the data is super important, right? There's no business today that doesn't think about security, or where security is not top of mind, right? Phishing, malware, scams, it's happening day in, day out, all the time. I mean, you hear stories about it all the time. So Google is able to put the best of breed security, right, which used to only be reserved for big Fortune 500 companies that can afford it, but this is all built into G Suite at the user cost that you get the license for. So you're getting that anti-spam already built in, right? You're going to see almost a 99.9% reduction in spam once you turn on G Suite for your business domain. You'll be able to control users in terms of how they access data, where they can access data from, and what they can access. So you're not creating this big pool of documents where some of them are sensitive in nature, or some of them are only supposed to be visible by the CEO. You're not creating this pool where everybody has access and can see everything, right? You're able to set it up in a way that works for you and your users and your group of users. And you can obviously integrate it with some of the most popular applications out there: Salesforce, Microsoft, SAP, right? If you're one of those users that, I have to have my Excel, no ifs, ands, or buts about it, that's perfectly fine. You can keep your Excel, right? You can still use you can still use Drive to store, share. You can still use your Office documents. You can still use your Outlook, right? But there are plenty of advantages to using the native G Suite documents and email. But if you don't want to, or if your admin allows you to have that flexibility, that's perfectly fine as well. In terms of security, because it's so important, a couple of things I just want to highlight about what you get out of the box with G Suite, right? And it's continuously scanning everything all the time, every email that comes in, every document. And if it notices anything that could be suspicious, it's going to alert you, right? So the best thing you can do to prevent threats is to catch them before they happen, right? So G Suite has a live security dashboard that gives you access to all the information you need at any given time about what's happening within your environment. And you can always go back and read the logs and see what's happening. But point is, you're able to catch these things quickly before it's too late. And the commitment that G Suite has, which this used to get brought up a lot, actually, and it's funny how it doesn't get brought up that much anymore, but we used to get on calls with businesses of all sizes, and they used to say, doesn't Google read all my email and sell that data to ad companies, right? That does not happen in the business world of Google. You know, there is a clear differentiation between a free Gmail account for a consumer and a business that's purchasing G Suite for their business. That side of the house, the business side, is completely separate from the personal side. The business side has all the encryption, it has all of the scanning, it has all of the redundancies. You own your data. Google never has access to that data. Even if they did, it would be encrypted and gibberish. So it's all safe on that side of the house. There are some studies that have been done, and I'm sure if this was a Microsoft 365 presentation, you might see some of these numbers going the other way. But this is just what we have found, right? And this is a study that Google has done from an unbiased approach of how are companies adopting G Suite versus 365. And you could see that companies are more keen to adopt G Suite, again, because it's a new way of doing things. Right? When they look at 365, a lot of folks think, oh, it's just the same as what I've been doing, so I'm not going to, try to use some of these new tools. Whereas when you introduce G Suite as, hey, here's how you could do something better, people are more keen to use it and try it. So it does increase workers' mobile productivity, right?
I mean, what I've seen with G Suite is that the tools themselves have fewer features, but a lot of the features that what you were showing us, they may be accessible in a simpler way.
Right.
Microsoft might give you 50 different ways to slice and dice, but it might not give you that way that you were showing us to autocomplete your sentence.
Right.
Do the pivot table sort of without having to know how to use the tool. So the features that G Suite does have, they seem like they're a lot more accessible to the average user.
Exactly.
It seems like with Microsoft, you could probably do a lot more with it, but you have to really dedicate the time to learn it.
Yeah, exactly. Or be taught, or have your admin, sit down with you and show you how to do it. Exactly. Google is really good at, making the UI really easy to understand, right? The buttons are big, the buttons are colorful, and it explains exactly what it does. So you're right. That lends to why the adoption is a little bit more seamless when companies make that transition over to G Suite. Now, obviously, you're going to get some of those resistant folks who, like I said earlier, just for whatever reason are scared of change. But once we show them what you can do, a lot of them end up fully converting over to G Suite, right? It's just a matter of understanding your individual workflow and how does that translate over to a G Suite environment, right? Somebody who's got a bunch of folders thinks, oh my God, I'm going to lose all my folders, but that's not true. That converts over to Gmail, but it's called labels, right? It's the same, but just a different terminology, and there are some differences between the two, but for the most part, it's the same. It categorizes your emails into a topic or a category. When we see what G Suite can do from a productivity standpoint, that's really where it becomes powerful. And I'll show you a couple of examples here. Right, here's a standard. Let me get actually a different spreadsheet that I can use for this example. I want one that has a little bit more information on it. So let's get this here. So here's an example. Wait, no, not that one. I could use this one. All right, so here's a typical contact list, right? Let's see, I don't know, 1,000 or no, how many are on here? 287 contacts, right? I look at this, I'm like, oh my God, there's a bunch of contacts, but how do I make sense of this data? I want to know, how many companies are actually represented. There's 287 contacts, but how many companies are represented? Yeah, you can go through and count. Okay, that's 1, 2, 3, or you just highlight that column, click on Explore, and watch what happens, right? It tells me how many unique companies are represented here, right? I can have a nice pie chart, or you can ask the question, how many unique account? $36, right? And if you want to know how to do it, you just click on See Formula, and there you go. Now I know for future reference, if I have another spreadsheet that has multiple accounts, I just need to use the Count Unique function, all right? And I can copy and paste this, I can drag it, or let's say, you want maybe to see how many are in each state, right? I just click on mailing, I click on that column, I could see here either a pivot table or a graph. Hey, I want to drag this right into my presentation here. So I can see California has the most, which with 80% of these being in California, right? If you showed this to your boss who's not very familiar, they would think, oh my God, you're a genius, right? But what did you do? You clicked the button, So things like that really help take it to the next level, that help you be more productive, help you analyze that data, right? That's a really great feature. And within Google Drive, right, besides the ability to just store and share files, you also have what's called shared drives, which allows you to create secured groups of information. So let's say you're a CEO, or you're part of an executive team at a company. You want to have a shared drive that only your executive team can access, right? No one else would even see that this exists, only you and your executive team. Or maybe you have a marketing team, right? You want to create this marketing share drive so that all marketing information is put into this drive. The great thing about share drive versus my drive is that information put into share drive cannot be deleted by a random person or by anybody at the company, right? It all stays with the domain. So the data is owned by the domain, not the individual. So this helps with onboarding and offboarding. Let's say you have a marketing folder and you hire a new marketing person. You just add them to that marketing team, and voila, they have full access to all that marketing document, right? You don't have to send them an email with a bunch of attachments. It's all right there. Now, going back to just where does G Suite, win, right? What do we see out there in the market? What are we seeing in terms of success rates, and why companies are choosing G Suite over some of the competition? And a lot of it has to do with the security that's built in, right? Again, you're getting Fortune 100, Fortune 50 technology at the price of, a few dollars a month, right? Which used to be unheard of. Collaboration, obviously G Suite kind of coined the whole real-time collaboration within a document field. It didn't really exist before G Suite. And consolidation of tools. This is a huge one, right? We come across companies all the time that are, let's say they're on an Exchange server and they're paying for Dropbox, and they're paying for, like LastPass, and they're paying for an identity management tool like Ping, and they're paying for Zoom, and they're paying for this, that, and the other. You can consolidate all of that into G Suite at one fixed price. We see wins across the board, right? Healthcare, retail. Here's a win, 335 users. Healthcare, they were running an environment of 365. They had HP for some of their servers. They were using Dell racks. They were using Azure to do some analytics, and they were using Duo for security. We were able to consolidate all that into G Suite Enterprise and save them over $100,000 a year, right? What was the catalyst for this one? New leadership, right? And that's coming up a lot lately, is younger and younger C-level executives are coming into leadership positions understanding the value of something like G Suite, right? Understanding that making a move like this is actually going to benefit my business and help me with my top and bottom line. It's not a change just for the sake of making a change, but it's a change to actually improve the business. And look, I'm not shy about it. Like, why do we lose deals? We lose deals sometimes because price or budget, right? Sometimes companies can get away with the cheaper Microsoft license, right? But most of all, it's because companies are comfortable with the status quo, right? They're scared of that change. They're scared of what's this going to do to my business? How's this going to disrupt my users? Is it going to disrupt my users, right? And then just overall competition. So, we do see across the board, but when you have that company that has sort of a newer leadership, a new way of thinking, they are just sort of stuck at this level where they're not growing, they're not shrinking, something needs to change. And a lot of times with a change like this, that helps to accelerate what they're thinking about doing. And when you talk about some of the burdens of making a switch, right, you look at what does sort of that on-premise environment look like. You're stuck to an infrastructure that's static, right? You have to update that software, you have to patch fix it, you have to install it locally. It's hard to access remotely. There's usually a bunch of terms built into the contracts that require you to pay more each year. And when you move to a G Suite model, it's very elastic in terms of how you can grow and shrink, right? You add a user, you add a license, right? It's always updated, so you're always using the latest, greatest. You don't have to purchase these complex enterprise agreements, and you have the ability to monitor and set up the environment without the need of any specialist, right? So you have the ability to set up your environment, create that environment for you. So really, G Suite helps the business make things better, smarter, makes it more collaborative. You have everything built in out of the box. Now, some of the advantages besides just G Suite out of the box, like I said, is the ability to continue to utilize some of the ways you guys are working now with some third-party add-ons, right? SharePoint, for instance, is a big one. There's no direct SharePoint competitor in the G Suite world because G Suite looks at things differently, right? SharePoint, to a lot of folks, is just a front end of a back-end file repository like Google Drive. But if you do want to have that front-end visual, there's things like AO Docs, there's things like Loom Apps, there's things like Google Sites, right? If you need to take your authentication and directory to the next level, there's integration with Okta. And if you need to have 100% encryption in transit, at rest, inside domain, outside domain, then there's integrations like Virtue. So there's nothing off limits in terms of how we can make it work with your business if you're looking at G Suite. And you can see the savings. It's just, this speaks for itself, right? If you're running, again, 365 or Exchange, and you have some of these third-party tools like Zoom or Slack or Box, you're paying upwards of $70, $80, $90 a user per month, when the most you're ever going to pay on G Suite is $25, right? That's the most you'll ever pay. So the value is there most of the time, right? Now, not all companies utilize all these tools, but a lot of them do, and a lot of them don't have control over it. I mean, think about the IT guy who has to monitor all this information. There's no way they can do it because they have to log into each system, individually. So not only does it help the end user, it helps the admins on the account, it helps your executive team, and it helps every business unit within your organization. I don't know if there's if you want me to jump into anything more specific, but happy to run through anything that you think would be valuable.
Sure. Backup is something that comes up a lot because people are sold these solutions as far as, hey, it's redundant. We just heard in the presentation, the marketing person can't delete the folder, so things are less at risk. But then usually once you get into the engagement, somebody sort of nudges the decision maker and says, oh, we're not selling you a backup product. Don't take this as disaster recovery. So I mean,
Right.
what really are the boundaries
Sure.
around backup? And yep.
Yeah, no, perfect. I'm glad you mentioned this because this is something that is really important to kind of highlight, right? Out of the box, G Suite Business and Enterprise come with something called Google Vault, right? Which is an archiving tool. And that is different than backup, right? And it's very important to understand the differences between the two, right? With Google Vault as an archiving e-discovery tool, it allows you to keep a record of your data, email and files, in a safe environment for the purpose of e-discovery, right? Going back and having to look at that, or a legal hold, or if you need to do an audit report. This is not a true backup in the sense of, if I erase my user, then all the data is still there. In Vault, if you remove the user, the data is removed with that user. Now there are ways to secure that data in the scenario of removing a user, but if you need a true cloud-to-cloud backup, we work with spanning most of the time, which is a true cloud-to-cloud backup, right? And it's fully integrated into Gmail. In fact, they use material design, so it looks just like Gmail. And that's what we talk about with companies that do need a true backup. Now, Vault for a lot of companies is good enough, right? Because it does keep a copy of it. And it allows you to do those legal holds, right? You can retain data for any period of time. You can organize and share. You can export and audit. You can assign different access rights. And you can see here, everything is backed up. I'm sorry, everything is archived, including Hangouts chat, Gmail Drive, script, and Meet recordings. So that is, the difference between data retention and e-discovery versus a true backup.
So with Vault, is that something that defaults on, or you have to actively turn it on, or?
Yeah, it defaults on. You can set certain rules and parameters, like keep it for a year, 7 years, 10 years, or keep it indefinitely. It's unlimited storage, so you don't have to worry about running out of space. But you can also choose, certain action items, right? You can also set different rules depending on the OU or the region. You could set different types of holds on it. But it's turned on automatically, but there are some customizations you can do depending on what you need.
So we've all been there with letting an employee go, and you find out the day after or the week after that they deleted some critical files.
Yep.
It's like that would protect you against
absolutely
the run-of-the-mill type of situation.
Yeah.
It's your IT director, and am I hearing that if you let that employee go and he decides to, nuke everybody's G Suite account, are you then out of luck, or do you have like a 14-day period?
Yeah, you do. Yeah,
okay.
You do. You have a 30-day period, but you can set alerts, right? If any of these actions happen, alert the admin, alert the following folks. So we work with a lot of companies to set up some of those proactive triggers, right? So that if anything happens, they know right away, right? It's not one of those scenarios where, whoops, it's too late. We didn't realize it. So not only that, you have an audit log of everything that happens. So a lot of, IT folks, first thing they do in the morning is just take a look at the audit log, see if there's any suspicious activity, right? So it's very rare that we'll ever get a company that's hit that 14 or 30-day mark and it's too late. But theoretically, yes, it could happen. Will it happen if you work with us? Probably not, because we're going to help you enforce some of those rules. But yes, it could happen.
And it sounds like, Joey, if you knew that you had a contentious situation, going with all you'd have to do to protect yourself, like let's say you let go unhappy employee 1, 2, 3, and that employee, maybe you just disable their account in G Suite.
Right. Exactly.
And that would be an alternative to deleting the account. Maybe stop getting charged the bill from G Suite, but then you have to offset that savings with whatever the cost of the backup tool is.
Yep.
your blanket backing up everybody. What would be any other advantage of buying a backup tool? I guess if you're really big and things are just too complicated to
Right.
those types of things, if you're, you know, hundreds and hundreds of users, then you can
Right.
really think that way. That would seem like one. What other advantage would be? I guess if the G Suite cloud was completely down, as unlikely as that would be, but then you'd
Right. Then you can still access mobile. You know, a lot of it is regulated industries first and foremost, right? Second is, to your point, large companies that just don't have the bandwidth to regulate everything, so they want to make sure that under all circumstances everything is you know, truly archived, right? Also, you know, Vault doesn't record like metadata, stuff like that. So a true backup would, right? And tags. So it allows you to search a little bit easier for what you need, and export in a little bit more of a seamless fashion. And it gives, you know, like spanning, for instance, does allow you to give some of that burden to the end user, like to do a password reset, right? Or if you want a user to be able to access their own backup, you can give that, right? Where in Vault, only the admins will have access to any of that Vault data.
So when it comes to the other thing that kind of is confusing in this cloud world that we live in, you know, in the old days, you'd have a backup because you're wanting to protect yourself against hardware failure. So if the G Suite cloud is down and I have a backup, but everything in my business is really designed around G Suite, I mean, are you saying we can back up to Office 365? I mean, you can't really just log into some other service and really get everything working like you could with swapping out a PC or a server in the old days.
Because everything's in the cloud, right? You can, again, let's say you lose power in your office, right? You could just hop onto your mobile network, right? And access everything.
If in the unlikely scenario that Google
that Google goes down.
Yeah, I mean, a backup to someplace else. I mean, what is it really?
Well, when you know, if you read, you know, how Google backs up your data, it's you know, I think it's unique, but again, I'm not sure. Maybe someone can call me out on this. But what I know that they do is, you know, your data is not all stored in one filing cabinet, right, on one server, on one cluster, right? It's backed up. It's bits and pieces. So if something did crash, most likely it would just be a small percentage of what you need access to, right? Because you'd be able to access it at, you know, location B, C, or D because they back it up multiple times, right? So I think the only scenario would be a complete nuclear bomb that just destroys the earth, you know? Then you won't be able to access any of your data, but you won't be here to access it, so I guess it doesn't matter.
It would seem like the most likely scenario would be if a company got into a fight with Google. That would seem like it almost seems like the most likely scenario of losing access to your data is some sort of a titling problem. You know, the IT bureaucracy problem.
Yeah, that's probably way above the companies we deal with.
Okay.
Yeah. And you know, Google is, you know, the other thing that's important to understand is, right, this is still a work in progress, right? G Suite is only, you know, 10 years old, right? And it's really only mature in terms of enterprise readiness, you know, probably since 2011 or 12 when they added Drive, right? Before then, it was just, you know, email and a calendar and some admin stuff. So you know, if you look at how fast it's accelerated, it's pretty tremendous, and it's only going up from here, right? They're building out entire, you know, new products, new categories. Google Meet, for instance, right, which is, you know, replacing a lot of people's licenses for Zoom or BlueJeans or WebEx, because again, it's built into G Suite at the same license price, and you could do everything you can on any of those other platforms. Google Voice, which is a you know, SMB type of phone system, built into Gmail now, or G Suite. You know, so there's other tools that don't get as much attention, but are still fundamentally important for a business to be up and running. So There's a lot there. Not only that, Chrome, right? We all forget Google owns Chrome. Not only the Chrome browsers, but the Chrome hardware, which is becoming a really popular form factor for not only companies that need like a low cost type of laptop for those remote folks, but to replace workstations, right? Windows 10 workstations, are still the most popular, but a lot of companies are moving towards a more cloud first type of setup, and you can have a Chrome book, a Chrome box, a Chrome base act just like a Windows 10 machine, and you have full access to control it. Right, only certain users can log in. You can set it up where they can only access one document for those the back end workers, for your knowledge workers. So there's a whole slew of things that can be done that allow you to be more effective. There's presentation room hardware, right, for those boardrooms, which I don't know if we'll ever go back to that, but they're still around, and just the ability to create that seamless environment, right? Google Chat is now replaced Hangouts, so it's more of a true chat-like function where you can set up rooms, you can set up projects. So it's improving on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, and really, when you talk about doing it, I mean, Google's really the probably the more mature platform when you get right down to it, versus some of the other platforms that like even Microsoft. I mean, Microsoft has had an Office offering for a long time.
Yep.
Invested hugely here recently, but it's Google has been doing this longer than Microsoft has when you get right down to it. So I would say that this is a pretty mature platform, although you guys are rapidly adding features. Yeah.
No, absolutely. And look, there's still that notion that a lot of folks, say that G Suite's not enterprise ready, right? And I think that's only because there's still a lot of reliance on custom built applications for these large companies, right? And that's where Google is starting to make huge improvements, right? Which with their GCP platform, right? You can run your Oracle workloads now on GCP, right? You can run your SAP, you can run your IBM stuff, right? Things that you were never able to connect can now connect. And that's where we're seeing a lot of improvements.
Cool. Well, this has been really great, Joey. So
oh, good.
I guess, what would be the next step if we were talking with somebody and they were looking at G Suite, reach out to you. What is it, what is a typical transition cost?
Yeah.
How long does it take? Are there any sort of things to make this more concrete? I mean,
yeah,
reduce that fear like you were talking about the change.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, there's a ton, and it depends on, the size, the environment, your current workflow process. But for a lot of companies, it's not a big disruption at all. There's little to no disruption when it comes to making a transition from any of those platforms over to G Suite, because everything's happening on the back end. But the most important aspect of a transition to make it successful is the change management, right? There's the technical side of the deployment and then the people side of the deployment. To get the people side right is way more important because we know the technical side is going to work, right? G Suite works, right? And then our team can migrate all your data for you. Our team can set up your environment, can work with your admins to set up your admin panel. But what's really important is, to create that long-term success. So we believe in a three-phased approach, and it says 90 days here because that's average for a company of a few hundred employees. But if you're a small business, this could be 14 days, 30 days, right? Depending on a few factors. But what we like to do is just do a test run with a few employees first, set up our migration tool, make sure everything's working, and then have a couple of conversations about your users to figure out what's the best next step to do some training for the users, set up some webinar type trainings, and really help set that success up from the ground up. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of people are already familiar with Gmail, so the transition is not as cumbersome as you may think. So really we set up the account, we migrate the data, we train the users, we go live, and then we stay there with you to make sure that everything is working properly and that all questions are answered, and then your team is up and running on G Suite. There's email migration, there's file migration, so there's a couple of different technical work streams that we would work out, but for the most part, it's all done on the back end. It's all seamless. There's no downtime, no disruption, and you get to reap the benefits right away. Like I said, you're always using the latest and greatest version of G Suite, so there's no need to wait for an improvement or wait for an upgrade or a patch fix or anything like that.
Yeah, so it was really nice. We worked with you on this with about a 40-person, 45-person company. They had about 8 sites, and we took on general IT, and they had a lot of issues going on. They were just getting hit with the transition to working remotely.
Yep.
COVID. So, we had to really, get all sorts of new computers and in place and replace, upgrade a lot of firewalls and other things that were way out of date. They were had sort of a backlog of support issues. So we were able to tackle all those projects and really cut you guys loose on the G Suite transition. And it was really nice to tag team it like that.
Right.
Enabled the client to move faster. You guys did a great job with just checking in and having really good, clear communication. And then, it enabled us to, they had some integrations into their email platform that were a little hairy and unorthodox. So we could really focus on untangling those spaghetti webs while you guys focused on making sure their email came over and making sure that their files came over. So it allowed us to, with the client support, we were able to, chew gum and walk at the same time and really multitask on a lot of 3-dimensional problems. And, I think the costs were reasonable. It enabled us to, really cover a lot of ground to modernize in a short amount of time. I think it was about a 45-day transition for them.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a good point is, we know what we do best, right? We don't do what you do, right? And to be able to just focus in on what we, know what we do best is a win-win across the board, right? We've been doing this for a long time. We've reiterated our methodology a few times, but we're at the point now where, we know based off a couple of conversations, what's going to be the most successful deployment route. And a lot of times it just follows a standard blueprint, right? As long as you're communicating, as long as there's transparency on both sides, it's going to end up being a successful transition. And we don't just stop there, right? Once they're live on G Suite, we help enable them to continue to adopt G Suite, continue to improve their integration into G Suite, continue to improve their collaboration within G Suite. So we want to maximize, their investment in G Suite. It's not a large investment, right? Like you said, the cost is reasonably priced for what you get, but to get the most out of it, it is worth it to just continuously start, peeling back the layers of what it is you get behind the scenes, because it's much more than just email, calendar, and Drive. It's a full suite that can help you be more productive.
Well, Joey, this has been great, and we look forward to doing another one with you.
Absolutely, anytime. Yeah, looking forward to working with you guys again real soon.
All right. Well, thanks for your time today. And does anyone else have any other questions? We're coming right up here on an hour, so seems like a good time to wrap. It's probably because I have to use the restroom.
Yeah, that's always the sign. Universal sign off.
All right, guys. Well, thank you all for coming together today and learning.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay.
Yep. Okay, guys. Thanks, everyone. Bye.